All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We discovered a long time ago a movie director. She's a director, right? Nancy Myers?
Yes.
I hope you still have her number.
Yeah.
Nancy Myers needs to know about this book called Campaign Widows.
Yes.
She needs to. I don't know if Aimee Agresti is going to want her book made into a movie. But if anybody makes it into a movie, it should be Nancy Myers. This is perfect for her, right?
It is. It's absolutely fabulous.
Aimee is on the phone. The book is called Campaign Widows. Aimee Agresti is a campaign widow herself. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. She's an entertainment journalist who has interviewed everyone from Angelina Jolie to George Clooney to the stars of The Hills, contributed to People, Premiere, DC Magazine, Mademoiselle, The New York Observer. I just like saying it that way. The Washington Post, goes on and on and on. Anyway, Cosmopolitan called this Irresistible. What was the other one I had here? I think it was Us Magazine. I'm looking at the things on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful stuff.
Where is it? Irresistible from Cosmopolitan. Whip Smart from Us Weekly. Aimee Agresti. Good morning, Aimee. How are you?
Hi, good morning, guys. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited.
So you are a campaign widow yourself?
I have been a campaign widow, and that is where the idea for this book first came from. The book is a novel, so it really is all fiction. But yeah, the idea was sparked a million years ago when my husband, who was then just my boyfriend, was working on Capitol Hill and came home one night from work and announced he was going to be joining the re-election campaign for a senator from Louisiana and shipping off to New Orleans and leaving me behind until he would come back after the election.
Oh, no.
So that's when I became a widow.
Oh, no. And did you also did you become friends with other ladies who were campaign widows?
It's funny, I came to sort of understand what this whole campaigning world was about, which I had never known, that this just happens so much in Washington, D.C., where, people are working for different senators and then they have to go on the trail, or, of course, the presidential elections, and then they ship out, but they leave their loved ones back home. So I got very close with the people in his office who were still back in D.C. at that time.
Do you feel jealous?
And some of them were widows.
Do you feel jealous of the actual, the people who work with him and end up going with him more than you do?
I know, exactly. And, I was a freelance magazine writer at the time, so I had a lot of time on my hands. So when he first told me he was doing this and he was going to New Orleans, I thought, this is fabulous. I'm going to be drinking hurricanes. I'm coming down with you. And he was like, no, that is not how this works.
Oh, man.
See you in November. I know. I thought it was going to work out well for me. I didn't get to New Orleans until, years later with him. It's so true.
So I want to talk. The book is wonderful. You are such a talented writer. Thank you for sharing your talents with us. And I don't know if you want this made into a movie, but do you know who Nancy Myers is? You got to have her direct this one.
Oh, my gosh. I was listening to you guys talk about that, and I love her. I love all of her movies. A million years ago when I was at Premiere Magazine, my first job out of college, I got to interview her on the phone, and I loved her. I mean, she is such a powerhouse. Every movie she makes, I love. So I like that you put that out into the universe. Thank you for doing that for me. We'll see what happens.
Yes, I put it out into the universe. Let's hope it makes it to her.
Yeah.
I hope
Thanks
you do.
For that.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's like when somebody has something great, you want to share it with everybody. Mm-hmm. And this is one of them. This is called Campaign Widows. Actually, the copy you sent us has a different cover. Not that covers are important, but I just want the listeners to know that we'll be giving away later on a collector's copy.
That's right.
Different cover.
I love it. I'm sure we can hook you up with some copies that have the current cover also if you need them. I know where to find extra copies.
Well, your book is really, really fun because it's not just based on the two ladies, but on the family unit themselves, on the children, and how that's kind of affected.
Right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate how you guys read this. Yeah, the book, it's so funny. It's not even about politics at all. It's really about, friendships and people just sort of living their lives and navigating crossroads in their relationships while there's this sort of crazy villain, which is the campaign.
Exactly.
So in your real life, do you have a way of taking something that should be a bummer and finding humor in it as you do in the book? I mean, does writing make that happen for you?
Oh, thank you. I know. I think I tend to be someone who tries to see the humor in everything. You know, it just makes the day go better if you do. So yeah, you know, it's funny. The book is not based on, you know, me and things, but there is one anecdote in the book that did come from real life, and it was a funny moment that, you know, at the time was a little embarrassing, but became funny afterwards. And, you know, you mentioned the family unit in the book. There's a character who's a mommy blogger and used to be a speechwriter. And she has these twin girls, and they're lucky enough to get to trick-or-treat at the White House. And one of the little girls runs wild, and Secret Service has to scoop her up and deliver her back to her mom. And that actually did happen in real life to us.
To you?
We have two little boys. Yes, it happened to us.
Oh,
we
my
were
gosh.
lucky enough to trick-or-treat at the White House a couple years ago, which is a totally amazing experience. I mean, you get the run of the lawn. They're giving out huge bars of candy and, like, cookies in the shape of the White House. And we have two little boys. They were 3 and 6, but at the time they were 4 and 1.
Aw.
And my 4-year-old, I know, they were so cute, and it was such a great experience. We had a great time. And then all of a sudden, you know, towards the end, when we were finding our way to the exit, we're walking past this part of the lawn that they have Secret Service guys by, and a little chain link fence. It's the one part of the whole lawn where they didn't want anyone to go. And with no warning, my 4-year-old just takes off running. And he runs past the Secret Service guys, and he hops over this fence, and he's going straight for the West Wing. And my husband and I, like, stare at each other for a second, frozen. We're like, what is he doing? And then I've got our 1-year-old in the stroller, so I start yelling at my husband, run, catch him.
Oh, my
but
gosh.
The Secret Service guys start running first, of course, and it's their job to be able to catch people, so they caught him first. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. We were all dressed as Star Wars characters, the whole thing. And I thought, you know, this has got to go
That's
in a
a
book
great
someday.
scene. Oh, that's a great scene.
That was true.
Your characters are fabulous because they do a lot of analyzing of others in the book. And I love that phrase when one person asked, is this a save the world type of person or a power junkie? So I learned those two new phrases from you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know I sort of, all of my years of, you know, being in Washington, I tried to put into this. You know, I've lived here. I grew up in Maryland, but I wasn't in the political world. You know, my parents weren't really in politics or anything. So everything I learned, I sort of learned after college when I moved here with my husband and things. And I tried to infuse the book with all of that, you know, feeling of what it's like to be here. And you really do sort of come across these two types of people here. You know, the ones who just really want to do good in the world and, you know, and then the ones who are really kind of in it for the power. And it's easy to sort of size up who's who.
Are there any campaign widowers?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. There's, you know, in the book I have this one character named Jay whose boyfriend goes out on the campaign, and they're early on in their relationship and things. And you know, definitely in real life, you see that all the time where the men are left behind and the women go out on the trail, and I love that too. And so there is this one character, Jay, and I tried to pick all my characters were really in different phases of their relationship, so you could see just how the campaign could wreak havoc on it, because it's basically all the challenges of a long-distance relationship, you know? I mean, it's tough to deal with.
How do you take when an opponent is just outright nasty to your husband, like during the campaign time? I often wonder, how does the family handle that stuff? You know, politics aside, I mean, we're still all human beings, you know? We have feelings.
It's true. I'm lucky because my husband was insulated from it a little bit because he is a communications director. So at least it's not him who's a candidate himself, because I would be very sad if he was getting attacked in the media all the time. But it's funny to take it personally for the candidate or loved one for, and it really becomes like they're part of your family. So you'll hear, you know, something on TV where someone's really, oh, but they're so nice. We have such a nice, you know, barbecue at our house, you know, and things like that, because they're really, you know them so well. So it's hard, but you know, it's funny, the people who are for the most part, all the, the senators and things that I've met, they really have thick skin, They sort of know the business that they're in, and all the ones that I know are in it for the right reasons. They really want to, make change in the world and things, and so they are tough. I don't think I'd be that tough. I'm kind of too sensitive because I'm a writer.
And it's very scary, too, because once a person decides to run for any office, no matter what office it is, the wife usually, she's always going to be the first lady, whether it's a county commissioner or a governor or the president. And she has to take into account in advance what her role would be. And you have some, you have a couple scenes in the book where the one character just isn't sure if she really wants to do this or not, if the husband is elected.
That's right. I thought this was probably one of the most fun characters for me to write. I thought it would be a lot of fun. You're exactly right. When you are the spouse of someone running, you're in the race too, and you have a job to do also. And I thought it would be fun if the first lady, to be, really didn't want to be the first lady, and is kind of sabotaging her husband's campaign. So I have this character named Madison, and she loves her husband, but she, and her husband is very successful in business, but she doesn't think he really should be running the country. So she's doing what she can in subtle ways to sort of undermine his campaign. So she wears very inappropriate clothes. She does like a baton twirling routine at the
very fun.
and then it ends up that people still love her, so it doesn't seem to be working. So it was so much fun to write her. She was a trip.
Tell me about the campaign widow. After the person's campaign isn't successful, what happens then to that person? Is it like a big disappointment? Is there a huge wave of depression? What happens?
It's true. It's really tough. Everybody puts, their blood, sweat, and tears into these campaigns. And then if your candidate doesn't make it through, you're out of a job, which is really tough. So you have that happening all the time here, and I think that's really hard for people. And that's, I think, why, in the book, I wanted to really infuse it with all that emotion that you have, because this is really, life or death for people, especially if you have a family. You're going to be out of a job if your guy doesn't win, and that is really hard. It's funny, I have a bunch of campaign widow friends here, and I was talking to one of them about the book, and she had read it, and she said, it's so true. When my husband came back from the campaign after his candidate didn't get the, nomination, I had to get him a puppy because I had to do something. And he was so sad. And I thought, that's perfect.
That'll help, yeah.
Get him a puppy. Everyone needs puppies.
Sometimes the romantic aspect of a relationship is put on the back burner when one person is trying to reach a goal. You handled that very well also in the book.
Oh, thank you. I really wanted, everyone to be at these different points in their relationship, and it can be really tough if your loved one is away. It was important to me that the main character, whose name is Katie, and she's just come to D.C. She's learning how things work there, and her new fiance is sent out on the trail with this young upstart candidate, and it's all very exciting. And I wanted to show her very happy for her fiance and proud of him and for this great opportunity that he had, and for her to be just like his number one cheerleader. So then when things later on in the book don't go so well for the relationship, then at least she was always on board and happy for him, and you just see that the temptations of the trail got in the way for him. There's a lot that can go wrong.
Talk a little bit about the afterglow of a successful campaign, like the next morning, that little period of time before you have to actually get to work, when you can just say, "Oh my gosh, it happened and we won." That moment.
Oh yeah. That's amazing. That's like a rock star moment. That's like that's when everyone's celebrating. It's so funny. I remember when my husband was working on a campaign, and he was off in Louisiana, and I was watching TV and watching the results and waiting to see, and then they announced that his candidate had won, and they cut to someone on CNN, and it turned out my husband was just standing behind her on the phone, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's him. And then I was like, who's he talking to? But he was talking to his mom. It was okay. But it was so exciting. They showed the room, and it was just like a party erupts, and there are balloons, and that's
Do you
just
feel
the
left
best
out?
feeling.
I mean, did you feel left out at that moment?
So he called me next. It was cool. It was all right. He called me right after that. It's okay.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, even in marriage. When you first get married, it's hard for the mom of the groom to let go, but then, she's always there, and then the wife has this jealousy all of a sudden, which shouldn't be there.
That's true. Well, I'm very lucky with my extended family. I got very lucky. It's funny, I joke that it took me a really long time to write this book because I had the idea for so long of, these people who are left at home while their significant others are out on the trail. But I knew, luckily, it wasn't going to be based on me or my story. And that was just such a lucky thing because I didn't have any of the drama happen while my husband went away, which was really, really good personally. Just made it harder to write a book. I actually really make it up.
Is there a story behind naming the character Reagan?
Oh, yes. You're so great. Thank you for the close reading. I wanted all of the names to have, some meaning to them. So, many of them are presidents or first ladies or other sort of political figures. And so Reagan, I thought would be fun to name after President Reagan. I mean, I feel like this character was a speechwriter, so she's kind of a great communicator. And I thought that would be a lot of fun. She's from California.
Yeah.
So, and even, the main character, Katie, is named after Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And then the heartthrob, Parker, is named also after a suffragist who was a man and things. So I tried to, choose my names very carefully. It's like naming children. It's so much fun to name characters.
It is fun to listen to an author. Robin and I do this so much. And when you are speaking to somebody, and in this case it's you, and the personality matches the personality of the book, it's just awesome. I mean, you are, the way you sound is what the book feels like. I don't
that makes me
I don't know if anybody's told you that before. and that's a good thing. That's a good thing in your case. Stephen King, on the other hand, he's kind of morbid.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have a very artsy character in the book, and then the opposite of a very matter-of-fact character, but yet they all seem to get along.
Oh, that's right. I really wanted to make them all different and sort of, unlikely friends. They're folks who might not normally be in the same social circle, but because they have this shared bond of being left behind, they reach out to each other because they really understand each other in a way that no one else can. So, I tried to make them all as different as I could. I had a lot of fun with the one character who is this fabulous, like Toast of Georgetown type. And, she's a legend. She throws the best parties. Everybody loves her. And she's probably someone who wouldn't necessarily be friends with the main character, Katie, who's just come to D.C. and is learning her way. But she really takes her under her wing because she feels this, this kinship because they're both campaign widows. I love unlikely friendships. That's always fun for me in literature,
Not every candidate has a vice candidate, like the president has what do you call the vice president? Running mate. Everybody doesn't have a running mate in all cases, but in some cases they do. Do you ever, or do you know of anybody who, were you best friends with the wife of the running mate? Were you like arch enemies, or do you know anybody who was? That doesn't always work out, I'm guessing, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. It's true. I mean, most of my experiences personally have been in sort of Senate races, so then it's just the one person kind of on their own. But you certainly hear stories where, some partnerships are better than others in terms of, running mates and things, and that can be tough, I mean, there's so much drama to be found in the world of campaigns.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. You spend so much time with those people, and it's like any work relationship. You spend a lot of time with them, and, if you don't get along wonderfully, then that can be really tough.
I think as a country, we actually vote for the president and the first lady. I really think that the wife of the candidate, or in Hillary Clinton's case, the husband of the candidate.
Yeah.
I think it really, well, in his case, he was president, so maybe it's even more obvious. But I do. I think we look at both of them and consider what's the White House going to be like if she's the first lady. I think it makes a big difference to us.
I think so too. I think that there's so much attention on the First Lady, and I think as a country we want so much from her too. She's taken on such a great role. That role in our country over these past several years, and I think we kind of want a lot from her. You're right. She's running too. Which is why I thought it'd be fun to make a character who really doesn't want that job, even though she could do it very well.
Yeah, because the family, as we stated earlier, is first and foremost in the forefront. And even though sometimes the values have taken a backslide and everything, we still want that feel of a family, of a mother figure, but also someone who exudes elegance.
That's true. That is what we sort of expect and want. That's exactly right. So, if you have someone like in my book, doing a baton twirling routine and things, that's not usually what you look for a first lady. Exactly. One of the parts I had a lot of fun with in the book also is the candidate who's a female rapper, which I thought would be really fun and out of left field. And then the idea of, what her husband would be like as the first gentleman and things. And that's something that I would certainly love to see sometime, how a man would take on that role and what that would look like.
Yeah, that would be totally different, I think.
The book is called Campaign Widows, and our guest is the author Aimee Agresti. And I love the book, but I also wanted to say that I like a lot dialogue. For some reason, I'm attracted to stories that have a lot of dialogue in them. I don't know why. I don't know what it says about me. Maybe I just like listening. I like listening to people talk or reading about people talking. So. Let's see. I have a copy of the book. If you want the copy that was sent to me, call me and I'll leave it here for you. The rest of us have to go buy it. I did find it on Amazon. Let's see. You're doing really well on Amazon. Looks like you're getting some really good reviews.
Thank you.
And,
people have been very nice.
And
I'm so glad to hear that you like dialogue, because I spent a lot of time on that. I really wanted to have that pop and crackle and things, and I love Nora Ephron, who is just my gold standard for writing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
She was like such a genius, always at dialogue.
Yeah. We've had her sister on, right? Her sister's been?
Yeah, well, both of them.
We've had both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I just love them.
Yeah.
Let me give this one away real quickly. Good morning. You've got the book Campaign Widows. Who's this?
This is Charles.
Charles, you got the book. You know where we are, right?
Thank you.
You're
yes,
welcome.
Sir.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
See that?
Yay.
See that? I'm not the only man who likes these kind of stories.
That's
I
right.
love it.
Yeah, I think.
That makes me so happy.
I think so. Aimee, you're a delight. Thank you so much for being on the air with us today. That was fun.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for reading. Thank you.
And Robin's going to call Nancy Myers when we get off the air and
Recommend it.
and put the bug in her ear.
I love it. Thank you. You guys are like my publicists.
Thank you, Aimee. Do you have a
Thank
website?
you guys so much.
I need to ask you if you have a website. Do you have a website?
Oh, yes. It's AimeeAgresti.com.
And Aimee is spelled A-I... Thank you.
That's right. AIMEE. And Agresti is AGRESTI.com. Yeah, I hope people will check me out.
I'm sure they will. Aimee, thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll be right back.
Veterans Helping Veterans USA. Call 352-433-2320. We help veterans and their families with limited financial assistance, counseling, employment referrals, and a food and clothing bank. You can help in making a huge difference in the veterans' lives we serve by donating food, clothing, household items, or direct financial assistance. All donations are tax deductible. Veterans Helping Veterans USA. 352-433-2320. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America.
Friends, countrymen, tourists, and Ocalans, lend me your ears. Hey, speaking of ears, there is an opportunity for you to help feed and provide good maintenance, housing, and medical care for Marion County's rescued big cats, bears, monkeys, and other disabled or unreleasable wild and exotic animals. Take a tour on Wednesdays or Saturdays of the Endangered Animal Rescue Sanctuary. Call 352-266-2859. The Endangered Animal Rescue Sanctuary is affectionately known as EARS. Direct Connect to UCF, where students who attend the College of Central Florida and graduate with an AA or articulated AS degree are guaranteed admission to the University of Central Florida. Success coaches are ready and waiting to assist you in designing an educational plan that is right for you in any of their locations across Central Florida. Remember, connecting is easy and guaranteed. Find out more at directconnecttoUCF.com.
This is James Snyder, inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump's been tweeting about immigration this morning, writing, "We cannot allow our country to be overrun by illegal immigrants as the Democrats tell their phony stories of sadness and grief, hoping it will help them in the elections."
As a result of the president's executive order, which reverses the DHS policy